I'm going to keep pretty vulnerable here and tell you my story so you guys know where I'm coming from and why I feel I am where I am. So I grew up in Long Island, and I'm the middle of three. I have an older sister. She's a school teacher, and my younger brother is an attorney. And I went to elementary school actually with Charisse at St. Philip and James. I went to private parochial school, and then I went to St. Anthony's, private Catholic school. And that was like the first bump in the road I hit was my parents ended up getting divorced. My dad was a chief in Nassau County Police Department, and him and my dad ended up being with somebody that he met at his precinct. But I was always a person that was driven to succeed. When I was a little kid, 12 years old, a friend of mine, a very wealthy friend of mine, had a batting cage in his backyard. And he had the pitching machine with a 70-foot long net. I used to see that and go, wow, like, I really want that. And at 12 years old, I told my mother, I'm like, Mom, you know what? I want a batting cage like Angelo Simonello. And like, they laughed at me. My mother and father laughed at me. So I took out a piece of paper and I wrote down, and I said, I, David Atkins, I'm going to save up to buy a batting cage. And it was like $2,500. And I got a newspaper route, and I delivered papers for 2 years and saved up every penny of it, and I bought this batting cage. And I had it in my backyard, and buses, like the person that I saw had a huge house that was hidden in the backyard. And my house was a normal house, but buses would stop because there's this 70-foot long net. And I had it, but baseball was my life. Like, that was my drive. I loved playing baseball. I played in St. Anthony's, and I wanted to play in college, and I wanted to go away and play at a private parochial school, but my parents' divorce didn't allow that to happen. I actually went to University at Albany. That's where I went. It wasn't my first choice. Who went there? Yeah, there you go. So I went to University at Albany, and I really wasn't thrilled about it. And I went to the baseball team freshman year, and I remember talking to my dad. And my dad, I couldn't afford the school without having to work. So I ended up having to leave the baseball team, and I worked at Macy's. I worked in women's shoes. The old ladies coming in with corns in their faces. I worked in Macy's, and I had to work like 20, 30 hours a week on top of going to school full time to pay my way through school. It was the worst point of my parents. They divorced. For me, financially, I didn't get to go away. I was planning on going to Villanova. I wanted to go away there with a lot of my friends with St. Anthony's. It never happened. I always knew in my mind that there was something more to life, and I just never knew what it was, but I was just driven. I was going to work. And then freshman year, I was horse playing around with a guy named Dennis in a dorm, and I ended up banging my head pretty good on the concrete wall, and I'll never forget it. And this guy that was in the same floor, his name was David Brinkerhoff, goes by Brink, came over and he helped me out. And I remember, like, he had the ice pack on my head, and he helped me out and what happened. And he was an EMT back at home, and he was a freshman as well. And immediately, Dave and I really connected. We had a lot in common. We were both jokesters. We were both driven, and he wanted to be a police officer like myself. I always wanted to be a police officer. I didn't know where, but I knew I wanted to be a police officer from when I was young. And not even because my father wanted to do it, but I always wanted to help others. I always wanted to make a difference. And Dave Brink, I'm going to call him Brink, he was the same way. So we started doing everything together. We moved in and lived in the same dorm room in sophomore year of college, and we both decided to join the University of Albany Ambulance Corps, 5-card ambulance. So I went and got my EMT certification. Brink and I did it together to the point where you have to have 3 people in the ambulance, but if you can do it with 2, if you both are willing to go through some more like grueling training where you only have the driver and 1 EMT, and we did that just so that like we can just ride the ambulance together. So we rode the ambulance together, and we did that. With 5-card ambulance. I then got Brink a job at Macy's. Because at that point, I actually went into the security department because that's what I wanted to do. Because I'd be there selling women's shoes, and a friend of mine, Anthony, who was another good friend of mine, he'd be like chasing after a guy that just stole something. I'm like, that's what I want to do. So like, I literally took a big pay cut and was willing to work more hours because that's what my heart was, to do that. So I got in the security department, and Brink wanted to be in law enforcement, so he got a job. So now we'll work together. And we were in the ambulance corps together. And then we both decided to pledge a fraternity together as well. and it was Sammy. I don't know if you knew Sammy, but it was Sammy, and we lived in it. We pledged together. We went through a lot together. And the point I'm getting at is that he was my second brother. If people did not know that I had girlfriends at the time, they'd probably think that we were a couple or something. But we were constantly hanging out, working together, going to fraternity parties, pledging together. And we both decided, let's take the state police exam. And we scored 0.2 of a point apart from the exam. And we both got called for the same class. Like, I just couldn't believe it. Like, now we ain't called the same class. Now we went through the background investigation, which is grueling for the state police. Now we're in our last year of college. Last semester, I had 12 credits left, and we both got called to go to the academy, the same class. And they take the state police, they go through about 3,000 people to find 100 qualified people. So just the chances with, I think 25,000 took the test, that him and I ended up in together, it just blew me away. Here we go again, Dave and I, we both left. They're like, these two guys, they're leaving. They're going to State Police Academy together. So we went to the State Police Academy together. We graduated, and we both ended up getting married. I got, obviously Kristen and his wife Barb, and we were in each other's wedding parties. And it was the best thing. The best thing that ever happened. He was my best friend. We then both wanted to be on the State Police SWAT team. And the State Police SWAT team is called the MRT, Mobile Response Team. It's the State Police SWAT team. And I tried out with 3 years on the job, and he couldn't try out at that point, because to even try out, your shooting scores, and when you qualified through the year, the State Police have to be a certain level. He didn't hit it that year. So I tried out, I didn't make it. My first time in 3 years on. I was pretty beat up about it, but I'm realizing now why things happen for a reason. I get promoted to investigator, which is our detectives, and tryouts come up again. And the guys on the MRT team asked me to try out again, and really by the state police policy and procedures, you can't be a detective investigator on the team. You have to be a trooper. And it went all the way up to like the superintendent, and I wanted to try out, and they denied me. I couldn't try out again. Brink tried out. Brink tried out and made the team. Didn't surprise me. He made the SWAT team, and right after he graduated the SWAT team, we had a guy, Bucky Phillips, that was shooting a bunch of troopers. It was a very rough year out west, and we literally had his graduation party, and he wasn't even there because I went to his graduation ceremony, and they literally said, "Congratulations, you graduated. You've been activated. You're now going out to Buffalo." So we had a huge tent and party for him. He wasn't there. Can you imagine this?
I remember that.
So then, April 22nd, we were planning a trip to go to the Outer Banks. Him and his wife and his daughter. He just had a daughter a couple months earlier that had Down syndrome. And he almost lost his wife because her organs were shutting down during birth. She basically got her last rites. I remember him calling me and telling me that Barb is basically on her deathbed, and his daughter, which he had no idea, has Down syndrome. So we were planning to go to the Outer Banks. And April 20th, it was a Friday, April 20th, excuse me, we're on the phone, I know exactly where I was, and I said, "Brink, I'm sending you the last check," and he joked, "It better not be rubber, I'm sending you the last check for the trip to the Outer Banks," and that was the conversation we had on that Friday. April 24th, a guy by the name of Travis Trim shoots a trooper. This guy, Travis Trim, has a warrant. He shoots a trooper, and they activate our SWAT team to look for this guy because now he took off in a car, he ditched the car in the woods, and now we know he's in this community in Margaretville, New York. And I'm at my desk, and now it's April 25th, and I know they're out there, and we get word that an MRT guy got shot. So I'm dialing my phone. "Brink, it's Dave, what's going on? One of the MRT guys got shot." I'm dialing. Sorry, one of the guys got shot. And then my friend Paul says to me, "Dave," I go, "Yeah," he goes, Adam Cobb's on the phone for you?" And I'm like, "Adam Cobb? I went to college with Adam Cobb. Who's Adam? Who's Adam? Why is he calling me?" So I get on the phone, and Adam goes, "Dave, did you hear about the MRT guy that got shot?" I go, "Yeah, I'm trying to call Brink. I can't get in touch with him." He goes, "No, Dave." I go, "What?" He goes, "It was Brink." I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "He was shot." I said, "Is he all right?" He said, "No, he didn't make it." So that day, surprised me because I want to talk about him because that's when my vision changed, and I can't get it up. But April 25th is the day he died, and April 25th is the next. I said I'm going to talk about him today because I had goals, I had a vision, and the next Super Saturday is the day he died. I still wear this to this day, this bracelet. It's in memory of Trooper David Brinkerhoff, end of watch, April 25th, 2007. This has not come off my wrist, it's totally worn out in 7 years. And I remember my friend Paul, we rushed up to the hospital that day, and the craziest thing was, I'm calling another guy who I worked out with 4 or 5 days a week. We ran races together. He lived locally because at the time Brink lived in Albany. We'd run races together, we trained together, and I call him, and I'm very upset, and I'm going, and Norval was my friend of mine that was on the SWAT team, and basically they got in a wild, this guy was in a house, they went in the house, they got in a bad shootout with this guy, 2 other troopers got shot, Brink got shot and got killed. And I'm on the phone with Norval. Norval, what happened? He's crying, saying, I tried my best, and I'm driving, we're going like 100 miles an hour to get to the hospital. And we get there, and I go in the room, and I see him lying there, and I'm just a mess. And I literally had to, his mother walked in and saw me carrying, she's like, David, and I took her in to see Brink, and I won't forget that. The reason I'm saying that is because I knew there was more to life after this happened to me. I just knew life is bigger, it should not be like this. And then like 3 days later, which made matters worse, is I found out that Dave died in friendly fire, and my friend Norval was the one that clipped him in the head with the bullet. It was just a mess. Brink went to a room, a guy was in the room, he shot Brink in the chest, the body armor knocked him down, and like a hero, my friend Brink takes a knee, and he's shooting back at this scumbag, excuse my language, and Norval's behind him, and they're both firing. And when Norval went and dropped his gun lower, Dave, who was on a knee, hit him behind the helmet. But the one piece, guys, is that Brink didn't know, but 2 shots hit this guy in the head and 1 in the chest, and when they did ballistics, all 3 of them were from Brink. So I feel good that he ended up taking this guy out and put him to rest. So I knew at that point, once I lost my best friend, there was more to life, and so many times, everybody in here, you all have sight. Everybody in here has sight, but not everybody has a vision, right? And I realized that vision, I had a vision that was more to life, and I didn't know what it was. But I knew that I lost my best friend. His wife almost died. He has a daughter with Down syndrome. Like, there's got to be more to life. And I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what Beachbody was at the time, but 3 years later, my friend Paul introduced me to P90X, and it collected dust on my desk for like 4 months. I was still in gym go. I ran the New York City Marathon a couple times, and I just said, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not a gym. I'm a gym guy. And we ended up having to go to Houston, Texas, to look for somebody that was a witness of a homicide. And me and my friend Paul went out there, and this happened to be the same Paul that drove me up to see Brink, and he was in my academy class. Just things come back full circle. And we finished early, and I said, hey, let's go to the Houston Astros game. And he said, I'll go to the Houston Astros game with you, but you need to do ab rex from P90X. Are you kidding me? I don't want to do that bougie stuff. Like, I don't want to do that. So we go in the hotel room, I agree to it. I did ab rex, and it killed me. Like, I couldn't keep up. I was sore, my legs, my core. And I know you guys have done ab rex for the first time. Like, holy cow. So that's when I got introduced to P90X. And a couple months later, another guy I worked with said, hey, I'm going to become a coach. And he signed up to be a coach, and I signed up. I didn't know, all right, I'm going to sign up because I was drinking Shakeology. I was using the programs. I wanted the discount. And a couple months later, my coach quit. And it really didn't make a difference to me at that point because I didn't know anything about this. And this was like 2011. But then I started seeing, you know, what was going on and all the opportunities out there with this business. And people were making $1 million, and people were, you know, having great success, and I wanted to learn more. But I was left out at this island. And meaning by that is my upline star dive and said, David, you are on an island by yourself. Your coach that quit put you on the inside leg of his leg, and you are by yourself, right? And some of you guys probably are like that too, right? But I realized all I needed was an imagination, right? To have a vision. And the last time I checked, there's no down payment needed for an imagination. None. Right? But I spent time, and I know all you guys probably do it, and I've done it, is was constantly looking out to the left, to the right, looking out that window, looking for that coach that's going to teach me how to be successful, because I was on that island. That coach that's going to help me be successful, or looking for the acceptance of my family and friends, because guys, your family and friends are your harshest critics, and we get so worried. Guys, I say to my team, so many of us are so worried about what other people are thinking about us that you probably know them better than you know yourself, right? And I'm looking left and right, but I didn't realize that only one person is the difference for you to be successful in that, and that person's the person right in front of you in the mirror looking right back at you, right? It's the person in the mirror. I had to stop at that point realizing that if I want to attain my vision, and I knew there was more to life, and losing my best friend just made me realize there's more to life than 9 to 5 and living what 98% of society does. And 98% of society, guys, lives life by the circumstances around them. They live life by default. They're in cruise control in their life, and they're probably stuck in third gear and will have dreams, and they'll go to their grave with them. And I realized, and it took the loss of my friend to realize that there was more to life, laying my friend to rest. Show you guys this picture. So this is, I'm just gonna leave him up there because that's when he graduated MRT school. That was his wedding. That was his funeral. So that was, I know what it was, but losing him, realized my vision was bigger and how to stop making excuses. I realized the only person that's gonna get me to where I wanna be is the person in front of me. And I'm telling you guys that if you want to be successful in this business, it's nobody else's job to help you obtain success except yourself. All right? If you want it to happen, you need to get up and make it happen. If you want it to happen, you need to, as Eric Thomas always says, rise and grind. You may have to stay up late. You may have to give up TV. You may have to get up at 5 in the morning. But my vision a year ago was I'm going to make an elite coach. I'm going to bring my wife home in a year and a half. I want this to be a 6-figure business. And it's nobody else's job to do that but myself. And I'm telling all of you here, if I can do this, you can do this. I am no different than any of you here. But so many times we make excuses, which are well-planned lies, to stop you from being successful. You make excuses, and you really have to just look in the mirror and realize that the only person that's going to help you become successful is yourself, right? So your dreams, guys, you need to go after them. You have to go after them. It's not your upline's responsibility. It's not waiting for your family to criticize you and accept that. Guys, just this week was the first time, and even where I am in the business, that my brother actually almost accepted and couldn't believe what has happened for me in this business. I still hear stuff today. And you would think it comes easy, but it doesn't. All right, he was shocked when I told him things going on, and he's always been, I'm like, Doug, I'm retiring in 3 years for the beach body, and he'd laugh at me. Stop. He would say, stop. And he finally accepted it, but it's your job to fulfill your dreams. And the last thing I want to say that goes into this is at the beginning of 2015, to remember, you do not get out of life what you want, you get out of life who you are. And I'm going to say that again. Some should probably even write it down. You do not get out of life what you want, you get out of life who you are. We all want to hit Success Club this month. We all want to go on the cruise. We all want to be diamond. But David, I want to make $500 a week, but I want to be a diamond. Yeah, that's what you say with your mouth. But you get out of it who you are. Are you doing the 3 vital behaviors? Are you making no excuses? Are you doing whatever it takes to be successful? Are you getting yourself organized? Are you going through a tough time, working midnight, saying, you know what, I don't care, I'm going to figure it out? Because I could have easily, at times, my coach quit, I had no help, I had no coach training, I didn't know what the back office was, I had no clue, and finally, because I went to Summit, I said, this is bigger than me in life, and finally I realized that because it opened my eyes and realizing there's more to life with the loss of Brink, that this is the opportunity that can change my life and it can change you. Everybody has a story. Everybody, your blood, sweat, and tears is in your shoes, and you all have a story, and you all have a why. And I just want to finish with saying is, you can do this and turn this into something beyond your imagination, but only you can do it. Only the person in the mirror can do it, okay? Just get rid of your darn excuses, whatever they are, all right? Because I still say them to myself today at times. Get rid of them, take ownership of your business, and go after it, all right? This is not some fly-by-night business, guys. This can change your life. I am writing a check out next Wednesday, I know the date, for $9,000 to pay off my car loan 2 years early. I paid off all my student loans, and this is going to be an unbelievable business in so many ways beside the finances, because at 41 years old, I'm probably walking from the state police. And I'm no different than each and every one of you in here. I just had a vision, and unfortunately, this made me realize there was more to life, and whatever it is for you, just realize there's more to life, and go after it. All right, guys, so with that, thank you for coming on Super Saturday.